What is sport specific training? Is it real? Is it a hoax? Is it something you need to be doing? And the answer is yes, it's something you need to be doing. And yes, it is real, but it is not what you think it is. It is not what the TikTokers and Instagrammers have been telling you what it is. For one, sport specific training is not doing movements that just mimic whatever you're trying to get better at. It is literally practicing the skill that you want to get better at. If you want to become a better 100-meter sprinter, you need to sprint various distances and do that repeatedly over a week, over a month, and you will get better. It is that simple. It's a skill over and over and over. Your body adapts and you gain the necessary neuromuscular coordination, proprioception, and kinesthetic awareness that you need for the movement. For example, when you continuously sprint, you'll eventually learn how to do the short shift or switching action in sprinting. It'll just become second nature because you're literally just practicing the skill over and over and over. Now, does that mean that every other movement besides the skill is useless? No. Things like lifting or plyometrics are very useful for just about anybody, regardless if they're an athlete or a regular person. You just have to realize that these are supplemental movements and that these movements just stimulate stuff that we can or cannot get from the skill. Let's take a heavy back squat, for example. This doesn't have anywhere near as much rate of force development as sprinting or plyometrics, but they stimulate adaptations that we can and cannot get from sprinting. We can get things like myofibrillar hypertrophy, high threshold motor unit recruitment, and tendon stiffness, etc., etc. And these are all things that we can and cannot get from sprinting, which makes it a useful tool. Now, how much you program of lifting or plyometrics is going to be depending on the skill you're trying to improve and what your athletes need. For example, if I'm working with a very elastic athlete that relies on their elastic tissues to run fast, and they're very weak both in their glutes, quads, and just the muscles in general. I might just put in a little bit more lifting so we can maybe put on a little bit of muscle and gain some muscular force output because that's their weakness and that's what they need. Though I will say this, even if you are targeting weaknesses, never ignore what makes them good in the first place. But that's besides the point. Now, let's you see on Instagram and TikTok. Those movements, pretty much almost all of them are practically useless. I'm not gonna lie. The problem with sport specific drills that you see online is that they are so devoid of stimulation that they do pretty much nothing. Like these fast feet drills that you see online, at most, what you're gonna get out of it is you're gonna get a couple elastic contacts to the lower limb, and you learn how to move your feet faster on a speed ladder. That's it. You don't become more explosive. You don't improve your eccentric rate of force development. You don't do anything meaningful enough to make you into a different athlete. It's just kind of a waste of your time. A lot of these coaches know that and are still doing it because it is making them a crap ton of money. It's literally just for the money. It's not to help some poor athletes that don't know how to make programs. It's to make money. And I think I can understand to an extent. I understand it's very hard to get money at this time, but I would never fuck over athletes to get some money. Never. It's very hard to program. Hell, I'm a coach myself, and I'm still finding out new stuff every day and changing up what I do. But I'm gonna give you a very general guide, a very very general guide to understand what to do. So for one, you want to be able to practice the skill as much as you can without accumulating crap tons of fatigue that would mess with the movement itself. So for sprinting, for example, you can do that two to four times per week. It is going to depend on the kind of sprinting you're doing. Like you could do tempo mode, you can do high intensity sprinting, but you can really only do high intensity sprinting 2 to 3 times per week just because of how fatiguing it is. So you can do a sprint session followed by a 48-hour break, and then you could do another one, 40-hour break, and then another one, and just repeat that for the month, a month, a month. And you just have to pick which aspects of the sprint you want to train. That's a very, very basic layout, and you just got to find out how often you could do the skill and then program accordingly. And then from there, figure out your strengths and weaknesses with the skill. So I'll use sprinting again because that's the best I know how to do. So I'll do the opposite of what I did earlier. So if you're a muscular dominant athlete, you're a great squatter, you can deadlift, bench, you have high amounts of muscular force, but you are very bad at using your elastic tissues and stretch training cycles. So you're probably gonna have to get better. Got to get a lot of more extensive contacts, a little bit more intensive plyometrics and high power movements so you can not only learn how to use the elastic tissues properly and develop the necessary eccentric capacity and neuromuscular coordination, but also develop the rate of force development that you need to run fast. So that's one example that you can use. Last thing I would do is learn how to develop this skill itself. So I'm gonna keep using sprinting because I'm a sprint coach. So with sprinting, one of the keys is you're gonna have to learn how to sprint, learn there's certain movement patterns, and learn how to do it explosively and within the time constraints of the movement. So in sprinting, I'll use this as an example because I've been learning about this recently. One of the most important things you could do during upright sprinting is you want to keep the thigh at a high position as long as you can without messing up your recovery. That's one of the main things you want to learn. And to learn that, you could do all kinds of stuff. You could do mini hurdle flies, straight arm runs, and some learning complexes. You just have to learn how to develop those certain aspects of the skill, and you have to do that all the time until you can just perfect it. And nobody will ever perfect the skill because nobody's perfect, but you have to try to perfect it as much as possible. It applies to any skill, it applies to dunking, shooting, kicking, a soccer ball, doing anything. You just have to keep learning over and over and over and over to get better at it. Those are the basic stuff I would do when you're trying to come up with ways to get better at a skill. I hope this helps. This is very, very general. I'll go into more specific stuff in the next video, and I'll be about sprinting because again, that's what I'm the best at. So I talk about different formats, what you should program, what you should and should not do, and stuff like that. So just stay tuned, and see you later.